Find a way to get your physiology in a place where you are yourself. The thing about getting your physiology in the right place, right, if you did one thing and nothing else, so it's the same with preparing for an exam, it would be to breathe rhythmically before you go in.
Okay.
Right? Because the number one thing about the stress response, it's the brainstem, the fight or flight, is triggered by your heart rate, right? And it's not that your heart rate is high or low. So it's not that it's 120 beats a minute. And this gets a bit technical. It's whether it's in a rhythmical sine wave or not,
okay.
Right? It's whether it's whether it is a coherent heartbeat. And when you're frightened, it's not coherent, it's incoherent. It's going
yeah.
Right? And there's a brilliant line in the stress research that says that's why stress makes you stupid. It's a brilliant quote. So your heart rate's going, your brainstem's going run away or fight. That's flooding you with hormones. Your brainstem's connected to your nervous system. That's why you have the shakes, right? And that process does a couple of things. It starts to shut your other organs down, like your stomach, which is why you get butterflies in your stomach, right? The reason you get butterflies in your stomach is it's a stress response telling you to stop eating. You don't need to process food when you're scared,
Yeah.
right? The other organ it shuts off, sadly, is your prefrontal cortex. It gives you a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah.
So at the very moment you've got to be lucid and good and confident and remember your stuff, you can't. Because your heart rate's like the conductor of an orchestra.
Okay.
Right? And if the conductor's going, everything else is.
Yeah.
So my humble opinion, you can't vision your way into calming your heart rate down, but you can breathe your way into it. It's why mindfulness works, and it's why yoga works and stuff like that. I've done loads of presentations. I'm doing them all the time. I'm still scared. Every time. I know I'm having this stress response, but when I'm sitting in a client's reception, I just sit there for a couple of minutes and breathe rhythmically. And breathing rhythmically just means breathe in, breathe out. And just sit there, and you can have the newspaper and whatever it is, but you're just concentrating on rhythmical breathing. And it works in two ways. One, because you're forgetting to be scared, because you're focusing on something else. And rhythmical breathing just brings the heart rate into a sine wave. And that turns your brain back on. So try and be yourself. Breathe rhythmically before you go in. They want you to be good.
Okay.
Every person I ever interview, I want them to be brilliant. I don't ever want to catch them out, ever.
Okay.
Right? So let's say I schlep into London, which costs me a load of money. It's a pain in the backside. I've got 5 people to meet. I want them to be good. I don't want them to be bad. So there's a lot of love in the room. So they're not trying to catch you out. So you've got to get your mindset into a place that says, they'd rather I did well than not. It's not adversarial. There are lots of thoughts. The two big ones are, when you look at the physiology of it, is rhythmical breathing, walking away from the source of the stress. So if I'm doing loads of emails, right, so this morning, I spent the whole morning doing my VAT return, right, and I wanted to die, I promise you. So coming to see you was a brilliant relief. But the way I do my VAT return, because it sends me crazy by the laptop, is I stand up and I walk away from it.
Okay.
Literally, physically walk away. Now often you do that anyway because you pop to the loo or you go and get a cup of tea, but that's the point. Walk away from the source of the problem. Breathe rhythmically, either at the source of the problem, ideally away from the source of the problem. And then the final big one is called replacement. It's replace it with a positive thought.
Okay.
Right? And it's anything that's positive about it. And that's tough to do. if we had more time, right, I'd talk about the part of your brain that this affects. That part is called the limbic system, and in particular the amygdala. And in prehistoric terms, the problem with that is that defaults to the negative, right? Because it's the bit that kept you alive. Now the problem with that is it teaches you negative thoughts. So it's the bit where I don't know, you're at university and you see people in a huddle and they're whispering away, and your brain goes, they're whispering about me because they really like me. It doesn't do that.
No.
It goes, they're whispering about me because they hate me.
Yeah.
But it defaults that way all the time. So when you're preparing for an interview, or when you're between, when you've just been rejected and stuff like that, it just gives more food to that part of your brain that goes, and what that bit of the brain goes is, told you so, told you it was going to go wrong, told you you're not pretty enough, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whoosh. You have to, the only way to calm that down, rhythmical breathing, and put something positive on the top of it.
Okay.
The positive thing is, I'm going to meet someone new. I was working with someone once, right? I don't know if this helps as an idea. The way they did it, right, was to say, if the interview's in that room, right, I think the word they used was anticipation. That was the positive word. So that door you can see through, but if the door you couldn't see through, as they were opening the door, they would think of the word anticipation, because they're just anticipating who they're going to meet on the other side of it.
Okay.
Not the interview's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not tall enough. That's what that bit. It was kind of, isn't it great that I'm going to meet someone new?
Yeah. Okay.
And I was working with them, and they just drilled that into themselves. And before you know it, your physiology changes. You grow a bit. When you shake their hand, it's a bit firmer. All that stuff's not that relevant, but it's a bit. You just look a bit more confident. And all you've done is anticipate who's behind the door. Now, what's your own version of that? It's anything. It literally is anything that moves you forward a bit. It can be thinking about the holiday you're going to go on next year.